it might be your own club. Let's see who's in the room. Is anyone here a club coach already? No. Oh, yes, we have 2 club coaches. Excellent. Do we have anybody here who is aspiring to be a club coach? Okay, David has a special handout for you. Okay, and there's one back there too. And, okay, she's already got one, but Scott needs one over here. All right, hold that hand up if you are aspiring to be a club coach. David is going to come around. And I'm assuming the rest of you are in clubs who are struggling and you want to build your club up. Yes. Perfect. I am going to share some things here that will help you. All right. Keep that hand up until David gets to you. My name is Liz Shaw. This is my email address. I did not get through the entire presentation the last time I did it. Still need one, Scott? There's one over there. So if we have that same wonderful problem today, you can feel free to email me and I will send it out. That's also if you don't want to take notes, if you just want to listen and enjoy it today. I'll send you the whole presentation word for word. You just need to email me. All right? So we're going to talk about club coaching. I'm a little intimidated because the club that I coach, there is a member of that club here. And so if you hear snickering, you'll know who that was. Because I'm going to tell you that when I coached, I did not know how to coach. I am now a professional coach. And so what I'm telling you is correct and how you do it, but I didn't know it when I was a club coach. And I went in with really good intentions and did a lot of things wrong. You can be a successful club coach and do a lot of things wrong, all right? But I'm hoping today to teach you how to do it correctly. The first thing that's most important is your attitude, all right? A club coach, by definition, is an outsider coming into a club. It's not your club. You're not going to turn it into a clone of your club. It is an independent club. And I think the most effective thing that I did as a club coach was walk in and say, okay, how do you guys want to do this? And they said, we want to do open houses. I had never had any success with open houses, but they wanted to do open houses. My job as a coach was to help them do open houses, okay, because it was their club. So the attitude is that it is a privilege to be a club coach. It is an honor to be included as that person, to have the opportunity to walk alongside that club on its way to healthiness. And so always have that attitude that it is an honor to be there and an honor to serve. It is not just a box that you're ticking off to get your DTM. That's the biggest single mistake that I see people make. All right. So, one of the things that I like to tell people is that you could be a great coach and not be the right coach for that club. So I suggest that you audition the club and allow them to audition you. So when you go to the first meeting, you want to arrive early to the meeting and mingle. You are going to observe at the meeting. What are some things that you will observe before the meeting? Things that you want to know about this club and why they need a coach. What are some things? Yes?
Check the website.
Okay. And that is a good idea to do, but that is kind of on the back end when you've decided to coach them. When you walk into the meeting, what are you observing, Dan?
People showing up late.
People showing up late. Mike?
Do they greet their guests?
Oh, yes. Warmly greeting the guests.
Was it easy enough to find where the meeting is?
Good. All right.
Group cohesion.
Group cohesion.
Is the room even open?
Yes, that's a good thing. All right. Are the roles filled? That's a big problem that clubs have. Yes, Don?
Do they have an agenda?
Do they have an agenda? You're looking really, how organized is this club? And if you are not a Toastmaster, When you walk in, what would be your first impression of the organization by how this club is presenting? Because people can walk in, that first impression is so strong. So you're wanting to look for all those things before you even walk into the meeting. Now, if you are auditioning a club as a coach, you're not going to do what I did. You're not going to walk in and say, hey, I'm here to be your club coach. You're auditioning them. And so you walk in and you say, hey, I'm Liz. I attend a club in Mesa, but I was just in the neighborhood and I thought I'd stop by. Is there anything that I can help you with? And they will probably put you to work because they probably need a functionary or two to fill in. All right, so now you've ingratiated yourself with them, you're helping them, but you're also getting to know the movers and the shakers in the club, the people that you would be working most closely with. So you just walk in and you're just visiting, because that first time, that really is all you're doing. You're just visiting them. Okay? All right. The next thing that happens is we have a meeting, and what are you going to observe during the meeting? Who's got an idea on that?
If you're on time and following the agenda.
Are they following the agenda? Do they open on time? Do they close on time? Yes.
Do the functionary roles understand what their role is, and are they keeping up with that agenda?
Good. And are they explaining the functionary roles to the guests?
Are they having fun?
Oh, that's so good. You know, I had a comment at my last session about the energy in the room. And I can tell you that when I was a coach, one of the things that I preached was you have to clap, you have to clap, you have to clap. Because that people feel the energy, and if the energy is, guests will not come back. So you have to keep the energy up in the room. You have to be having fun. Guests need to see that you're having fun. And clapping is a way of recognition, but it also builds the energy. So that's so important. Thank you. What else do you need to observe during the meeting?
Are the speeches based on projects?
Good. Are the speeches based on projects?
How is they supporting and encouraging each other's evaluation and other?
Good. Are the evaluations supportive and encouraging?
Is everyone included?
Everyone is included. Do they get an opportunity to speak? Yes.
Is there somebody sitting with the guests to answer their questions?
Good point. Right. What about, do they have a guest packet? Because you sit somebody next to the guest so that they can go through the guest packet with them and then say, ask me any question during the meeting. Yes.
How thorough is the general evaluation of the meeting from the general evaluator? Do they evaluate the evaluators? Do they evaluate the speech topics? Do they evaluate how well everybody did before?
So if you were in here for the pathways discussion, Trish talked about the importance of evaluation. And this is what Toastmasters is about. We're not just giving speeches for fun. We're giving speeches to learn how to become better communicators. And so are the evaluations helpful? Are they helping people grow? Is the general evaluator helping the meeting become a better meeting? Yes, so important.
Is the participation spread out, or is it 3 people doing all the speeches and all the functionaries?
Okay, do they have enough people there to really cover the roles? Good. Anybody else?
Building on this gentleman's point, is it more than one person visiting with the guest? Are they able to forge a link with more than one?
Okay, that's great. When a guest comes in, ideally, every officer should be shaking that guest's hand and greeting them. Yes.
Not only greeting them, making them the part of the club, like sometimes call them for the table topic or something, if they are willing to do that.
So, and that's a good point. Before the meeting, if you're going to call on guests during table topics, warn them. Hey, listen, we do this thing called table topics. This is what it looks like. We'll offer you the opportunity to do that. You can feel free to say no, but we want you to feel like you can participate if you'd like to, so that they're aware instead of just getting called on out of the blue. All right. Anything else? Yes.
Are they filling out a guest book? Might have already been mentioned.
Oh, good. So that's a before the meeting thing. Does the club have a guest book? Are they capturing their guest information? Is the vice president of membership ready to follow up on that? Excellent point. All right. Okay. What happens after the meeting? What should we be seeing happen at a good club? What happens after the meeting? Don.
They're visiting.
They're having
Okay,
fun. Some of them have to leave early, but others can hang around and just chat with their friends.
all right. So there's a positive social thing happening after the meeting. Good.
You're asking your guests if you have any other questions.
Right, do you have any other questions? At the end of the meeting, is the president inviting the guests to join? Is somebody talking through the membership application with the guests? Are they answering questions? Are they saying, hey, I'm going to get in touch with you in the next week? Follow up, follow up, follow up, so important with guests. What else is happening after the meeting? Yes?
Taking the feedback from the guests, how they feel about the session, and what they takeaway they got from the meeting.
Excellent. All right, that's good. Take feedback after the meeting from the guests. What did they like? What do they think they could learn at Toastmasters? What else?
Signing for the role for the next meeting.
Okay, signing up for roles for the next meeting if that's how you do things. What else?
Their opportunity to talk to the members who aren't as active to encourage them to fill roles or find out why they've been gone or why they're not filling roles to help them overcome whatever it is they're facing.
All right, I want to bring up a critical thing. When you're talking to the guest after the meeting, what are your personal goals? You know, you came to Toastmasters tonight, so what brought you here? What are your personal goals? And then when you found out what their personal goals are, where are you going to tell them? This is how Toastmasters can help you achieve them. All right? I talked in my VPE session about the WIFM. You cannot let them walk out the door without the WIFM. They need to know what's in it for them to join this club. So I need to know what do they want, and then I need to tell them how we can fulfill that. All right? What else? All right, what is the, yes?
Are guests encouraged to visit other clubs?
Okay,
Or are they told, this is it? Because if you encourage them, say, if you didn't like our meeting, there are other meetings, and you have to find the club that fits you. Don't push that your club is the only fit for them.
okay, and I want to touch on that because I heard some giggles. But that's important because everybody has a personal style and every club has a different culture. They should be encouraged to find the club that they feel fits them the best. If you are so desperate that guests can smell the desperation on you, they're not joining your club. All right? So if you do what she says and say, hey, you know, if this wasn't a fit for you, let me help you find another club, but we hope you'll consider coming back and seeing another meeting. Absolutely, that's a really good point.
Something to build off of that actually is our club, we recommend like 3 times to attend, get a feel for it, visit other clubs. We'll help find if it's not the right fit, but we generally do like visit like 3 times before you become a member to make sure that it fits what you're looking for and that it fits it fits your style, you know, because your point, like you might not jive, like your wavelengths might not all match up with the group.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was something that we found worked really well was having like a couple of times before you sign on.
Very good. So you're not pressuring them. They don't feel like you're chasing them down and grabbing their wallet out. You're not pickpocketing them. Done.
Inevitably, a guest who's never been to a Toastmaster will have a lot of questions about the jargon, about the abbreviations, about what just happened. And so be prepared to explain to a layman what's going on.
Yep. Anything else? Yes.
Just along that same lines, I like to make sure that the time slot is good for them and it's going to continue to be good for them. And it seems like something that can be overlooked, but it's super important for someone's success in Toastmasters that lunchtime slot is going to be something you can consistently go to.
I love that. I have to tell you, when I was working registration earlier, a gal walked in and I was so excited to see her because she had been to our club as a guest 5-6 times, and she said she really would have loved to have joined our club, but it was not a good time. And so she just we never saw her after a while. And today I helped her register as a club officer. So she found a club that worked for her schedule, and that's a success. She didn't build our club, but she's helping somebody else's club, and she's in the program. So don't be afraid to do exactly what you're saying. So what I'm hearing everybody talk about is that what happens after the meeting is as important as what happens during the meeting in terms of selling people. How many people know how to close a sale? Yes. My phone is reminding me that I didn't turn it off. What a bad Toastmaster I am this morning. All right. You cannot close a sale if you do not ask for it. Dan, how many houses would you sell if you never asked for the sale? None. 0. How many guests will convert into members if you don't ask them to join? Everything that happens after the meeting is about helping the guests see that it's a good idea to become part of Toastmasters, whether it's in your club or another club. All right? We are helping them. We're not money grubbing. We're helping them become part of our organization, which I've heard called a cult, but it is an educational organization that will help them be more successful in their careers and their personal lives. And that's what we need to show them, the benefits, the WIFM, what's in it for them. And then as soon as we've shown them that, they want to give us the money. They want to become a cult member. All right. So after the first meeting, and you've watched all that stuff happen, you should probably be talking to the club president. And you're still not at the point where you've fully auditioned this club, but you still want to talk to the club president. And your entire goal for talking to the club president at this point is to just get a read on, how easy would it be to work with this person? Am I going to be the right match? Because the club president is the person you are working with. You will work with the entire executive committee, but the club president is the person you'll do the most work with as a club coach. So you have to figure out, personality-wise, are you guys going to get along? Is this and I have heard that some club presidents are not open to having coaches in their clubs. Even though their club is struggling, there are club presidents out there that do not want you there. You should probably know that before you waste a lot of time, right? Even though you liked the club and you felt like you could work with it, if the club president doesn't want you there, there's other clubs out there. I promise you there are clubs that need coaches. So talk to the club president, try to get a read on how open they are to assistant. You're still not saying, hey, I'm a club coach. You're just feeling it out. Okay. So the second meeting, why might you go back to a second meeting? Like you kind of felt good vibes at the first meeting after work with that. How might the second meeting be a little bit different?
Just to see this consistency.
Yes, because sometimes you could be there and they could be a hot mess before the meeting, right? Or, the president could have been having a bad day, whatever. That could be a one-time deal and you just happen to stop in at the wrong time. So you go to a second meeting and if there's still a hot mess and they still don't seem open, then we're happily moving along. But the second meeting is there to see, is this what happens like every week? We only have like 3 people showing up every week. Do we never have an agenda? Is that an every week kind of thing? All right? Or was that just kind of a bad week? I have bad weeks. You guys have bad weeks? Everybody has bad weeks. So it's good to go to a second meeting. So after the second meeting, this is where you're going to talk to the club president. All right? And you are still auditioning the club as to whether they are the right fit for you as a coach. But I'm going to teach you the OARS technique. This is part of motivational interviewing. And you can go on YouTube and learn all about motivational interviewing. It is a way of talking with someone and asking questions that help them come to the same conclusion that you have already reached. So you're just going to help them embrace change, okay? Because having a club coach come in can be really off-putting for people because nobody likes to say we need help, right? Nobody likes to say we are totally screwed up here. And so you're going to interview them by asking questions in a way that helps them get to the point where they are ready. They're not only ready for a club coach, but they just can't wait for you to say, yes, I want to help you guys. So motivational interviewing, this specific technique is the OARS technique, and here's how it goes. Open-ended questions. This means you're not asking a question that is yes or no. In some place on here. Everything here, by the way, everything that you say to the club up to now should be encouraging. They ask for your guest feedback after the meeting. Everything's going to be positive. You're not going to say, wow, you were a hot mess before the meeting. No. Everything's going to be very positive. But now you're going to start asking open-ended questions. So open-ended questions. How do you feel about how your club is doing right now? Okay. How do you feel your officers are doing with their roles? How do you feel your evaluations are as a club? Again, the president is either going to be open to talking to you about this or they're not. If they're not, move along, have a nice coffee with them and move on out. But if they're engaging with you on these questions, you say, how do you feel about how your club is doing right now? If they say, listen, we're really struggling, you probably noticed. We really appreciate your help the last couple of weeks. This person is probably open to coaching. So the A stands for affirmative statements. So, hey, how do you feel your club is doing right now? Oh, it's really struggling. Oh, that sounds really tiring. Tell me about the club members that are really solid in your club. Well, Dan is energetic and he's always ready to give a speech. That sounds great. Is he in an officer role already? How are you using him to help build your club? All right, so you're just asking questions, you're affirming. If they tell you, yes, the club's really struggling, you affirm that. Yeah, that sounds really tiring. That sounds like a struggle. That sounds difficult. All right, R is for reflective statements. And you guys have heard about mirroring, right? Somebody says, we don't have enough members. It's constantly a struggle to fill our roles. You say, wow, it sounds like you could really use more members. All right? And it sounds silly, but you're making sure that you're hearing what they're actually saying. So you reflect it back to them in different words. So it's really hard filling all the roles. It sounds like you could use more members. That's a reflective statement. So the S, let's see what the S is a summarizing statement. So the summarizing statement, I had a guy at the last one say, well, this is a technique you could use to get dates. And so his summarizing statement was, well, it sounds like you and I would be a great match, so what are you doing Friday at 7? All right, so the summarizing statement is, it sounds like your club could use some help. They're probably going to say yes. If you've led them down this road, they're going to say yes. And you could say, are you interested in a club coach? What is a club coach? And then you explain to them what a club coach is, and you offer to be that person for them. All right? But the important thing is this whole conversation you have beforehand builds up to the point where it's an easy yes for them, or you have determined probably at the open-ended statements part that they're just not ready for a club coach at that point. Okay, so what is coaching? Anybody have, where are my club coaches? I had a couple of people say that they were club coaches already. So they're going away. Yes. What is club coaching to you? What do you think of it as?
I walk in and think I'm more of an evaluator. I want to kind of go and watch the meeting and have positive thoughts that I can go back to the officers with and help them with whatever their club's doing at the time. I'm not trying to make it my club. It's more of just trying to evaluate what they're doing and help them improve that.
All right, so he's approaching it the way that evaluators approach evaluating speech. You're trying to build up the speaker. You're trying to build up the club. Okay, any other thoughts on what coaching looks like?
I think it's leadership development. So trying to identify who are the leaders and then mentor those people to be able to be successful in that job as being a leader of the club.
Okay, that's great. Building leaders. Because here's the deal with coaching. Eventually, you finish your coaching and you leave the club. And if you haven't built leaders while you were there, the club will need another coach pretty soon. So that's excellent. Yes.
Well, I'm a life coach, and so
Perfect.
maybe I'm wondering if this would also fit. Using the past to inform the present so you could move into the future you want.
Okay, give us an example of that.
Using past, what has gone on that has not worked, to inform the present about what we can do differently, and then how is that going to impact then our results?
Okay, so you could have the executive committee brainstorm. These are the things that didn't work for us in the past, but these are some things maybe that did, all right? And maybe we can stop doing some of these things and start doing these, and then make the plan to do it. Right, perfect.
In most cases, clubs are struggling because they don't know where to go and ask for help. So part of your goal as a coach is to teach them where they can get help, where is the material available, and who can help them with different situations.
So you're a club resource.
Yes.
Absolutely, thank you, Jeff, that's right. David?
Some of it is stress relief. A lot of the coaches, the mentors of the officers. A lot of the officers have been doing multiple roles for so long, and they feel like everything's on them, especially in a club that's got 4 or 5 members. You may have 2 people that are doing everything in the club. So to have somebody there just to even be a sounding board, like, you're doing the right thing, just new life into the club.
Right. And I want to say for those of you who are not looking to be club coaches, but your own club is struggling, every officer can be a club coach. You just have to make up your mind. And I want to talk about this idea about stress relief. This is what I always say. My club is President's Distinguished. It's like taking a cruise on Carnival Cruise Lines, right? Somebody puts the mint on your pillow and, there's always food, everything is taken care of, right? Because you've got a lot of people working together. Whereas if you're in a club with 4 members, it's like you're in a slave galley on an old Viking ship, you're chained to the bench, and everybody's pulling as hard as they can, and there are no breaks. All right, so yes, just a club coach just coming in to help relieve some of the stress is huge. And also, when you validate people's feelings about, yes, this is really hard, what we're doing right now is really hard, there's an immeasurable benefit to just validating people's feelings about that. Don?
I like to think of it in the sense of a sports coach. What's the purpose of a sports coach? It's to take an individual or a team and analyze their performance and then help them practice to get better at what they do. And what's the objective? Not to win a game, but to get new members.
Right.
So performance-based help. And it can all be done with all these other aspects. Of the affirming and all that. But it's really precise observation of what
Yep.
they're doing and specific things on how to improve.
Right, we're going to talk about SMART goals in a minute. So let me just read to you what I wrote about what coaching is. A coach helps you identify existing strengths, define priorities, set goals based on those priorities, and develop a plan to achieve those goals using the strengths that you've identified. Here's what a coach does not do. And I won't make you raise your hand if you've ever done this with your club, because you might have. A coach doesn't tell you what to do. They don't try to change your club into a clone of their own club. And what does it look like when you're a good coach? You listen and ask questions. That is the primary purpose of the coach. You listen and ask questions. And a lot of times, a club, in answering your questions, discovers the answer for themselves. So if you're the president of a struggling club, sometimes just asking your members questions will give you the answers that you're looking for. A club respects existing club culture and works inside of it. Occasionally, you'll make a little tweak here and there, but you're mostly working inside of the club culture. A club coach can offer ideas as part of brainstorming exercises, and I really do recommend brainstorming exercises as part of your executive committee meeting. And a club coach can offer ideas when invited to do such. And whatever the plan is that the team has, the club coach supports it. I don't care if you think it's the stupidest plan in the world. You're going to support it. And you're going to support the president. All right? Because you know what? I thought the open house plan was a stupid idea, but it worked. You know what? It's not. So just, you're going to, if it doesn't seem to be working, you'll just keep asking questions, and those questions will lead you to the next step in the plan. All right? Rebuilding a club is a process. It is not like we're going to hold an open house and everything's going to be great after that. It's a process. And so you're going to do things, and open houses might be what they've identified, but then you're going to help them with other things like, let's have an agenda. Can we have an agenda? Let's, that would be a little club tweak if they don't have an agenda. But you're going to model for them what a good Toastmaster looks like. It's possible that some of the people in that club have never seen an effective Toastmaster and have never seen an effective meeting. And so it's up to you, even within your own club. If you're an officer, you are a role model for the other members. And so it's up to you always to be trying not to have that bad week, but trying to have that hour or hour and a half where you are a role model, whether anybody's looking at you or not. You're still doing it by Toastmasters best practices.
Question.
Yes.
I just want to ask the coaches in this room, if you actually came together and you were talking about some of the struggling clubs, what would be the most common denominator? Maybe the first 1 and 2 common denominators among the struggling clubs?
Lack of membership is the most common denominator, as far as I know. Does anybody have a different one?
True, but I was thinking of why lack of membership.
It's different. I think it's different for every club, but you have an idea back there?
Another one is members not pursuing educational goals.
Okay, so lack of engaged members? Yes.
Not having high-quality meetings.
Okay, yes. That's so important. That is a tweak that you should put into practice. If you're a club, you're not changing club culture, but you're gently tweaking the meetings towards being quality meetings. Yes?
There's a toxic member.
Oh. That toxic member, by the way, can be one of your officers. And that will be challenging if you are a club coach.
So one of the reasons why I think that some clubs have low membership is they don't know how to advertise. They've got their club on the website, on TI website, and they just expect people to show up Or when they have an open house, they give it out to other Toastmasters and say, well, come join our club. Well, you're advertising the Toastmasters. So some of it is they don't know where to advertise.
All right, so, and that's one of the things, so if you're at a club like I was at that wanted to do open houses, that's one of the things that you do when you plan the open house. Okay, how are we going to advertise this? And I just want to say too about consistency. You brought up consistency earlier. Whatever you decide to do, if it doesn't work the first time, don't stop. We ran open houses for months without people coming, but here's the thing. We were advertising the open houses consistently. Every month we had an open house and we were advertising every month, every month, every month. And we had a Toastmaster visit and he said to me, don't be discouraged that people aren't attending your open houses. It's the consistent advertising that's important. If they can't get there on the night of the open house, that doesn't mean they're not going to eventually get here. And that is what happened. But it's the consistency. Whatever your plan is, work that plan. And work it consistently. And give it a chance to work. Don't ditch it because it doesn't work the first time. Give it a good 6 months before you start throwing it out. Yes?
Once a coach has chosen a group to coach, does everybody know that that's a coach, or is it only the officers? Is it only the president? Like, how does that work for integration?
So my recommendation is, I don't know if I have this on a slide or not.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
So my recommendation is this. You make the agreement with the president as you're having coffee. Then the president is going to introduce you at the next executive committee meeting, and the entire officer group should embrace you as a coach. If you have an officer that says we don't need a coach, that person is going to be difficult for you to work with, and you're going to have to determine whether you're going to be able to be successful there or not. But then yes, once you're on board, the whole club should be aware that you're there to help coach them. And because the first thing that you're going to do as a coach is you're going to start gathering data. All right? I talked at the VP Ed session about the member interest survey. Most struggling clubs have not done a member interest survey. This is freely downloadable from the Toastmasters website. You should have every single one of your members fill that out. One of the things that's interesting on the member interest survey is not the part about the member interest, but the part about the club. Because they're going to tell you, do they think the evaluations are helpful? Are they being mentored? They're going to answer a lot of questions that maybe the officers might have a blind spot to. So that member interest survey should come back to you as the coach. And then you're going to compile the data and present it back to the executive committee in as positive a light as possible. So here's how that goes. I see on a membership survey, somebody says, Mike Camel's evaluations are always really mean. He needs to stop that. All right, you're not going to present that back to the executive committee. What you're going to say is, this club has an opportunity to improve evaluations so that they are more supportive and encouraging to members. And then you're going to say, hey, Madam VP Ed, would you please present the Evaluate to Motivate module? Or you could do an open house that's just on how to give feedback and market that to nearby businesses. And do an entire night on providing feedback, constructive feedback. But in some way, you use the feedback that you get in a positive way to help build the club. But you only have that data if you have gathered it. This is a mistake that I made. I did not do that. All right, so once we have the data and we know what the problems are, we're going to set goals. And I am not going to torment you too much about SMART goals. Does everybody know what a SMART goal is? Yes, I don't think you can get through life anymore without SMART goals. But you're going to want to make sure that the club officers set SMART goals for their officer position and for the club as a whole. So if, for instance, if the VP of Education is not scheduling, and one of the issues is we show up for Toastmasters and we have no agenda because nobody has signed up for any roles, then you might say, well, what do you guys think about scheduling a few weeks out so that everybody knows what their role is and they can come prepared? What do you think about that? Well, then that would be up to the VP Ed to do that, and you could set a SMART goal. How are we going to phase this in and get people used to it? How are we going to introduce it to the club? And what's the time frame? And be very specific. Are we scheduling on free Toast? Are we scheduling in Excel? Are we using a different program? How are we going to accomplish that? But every single one of your officers should have a SMART goal for their position so that membership knows what they're doing. PR knows what they're doing. The president knows what they're doing. The sergeant at arms knows what, everybody has a role in building the club. And it might be a little outside the box. The secretary might take on part of the PR work, for instance, because your club might need extra PR work. And so the secretary might be included in that. So think outside the box, but every officer should be committed really to doing whatever is necessary to move the club forward. It's an all hands on deck kind of thing. All right, communication. I love that little guy. All right. I said earlier, communication, you are working primarily with the president, but really any officer is also free to come and be mentored with you. Most of your communication will take place during the executive committee meetings. Some clubs that are not successful will not be having executive committee meetings. So when I said we don't change the club culture, but sometimes we tweak it, that's an important tweak. Every club should be having an executive committee meeting every month. And if you're struggling, it's even more important, okay? So that you can review the progress on the goals, you can review the plans, you can implement new aspects to the plans. You've got to have that communication. A lot of clubs will communicate as well between those meetings via email group or a private Facebook group. And the more communication, the better. Is anyone surprised to hear me say that at a Toastmasters thing? So the more communication, the better. The one thing that I'm going to say is that as a club coach, it can be very easy to become bossy, especially if you're me, all right? You are not the boss. You are the resource, all right? The president is the boss. So always defer to the president, wait for them to ask for help. If you want to chime something in, chime that in to the president rather than to the whole group. Please respect the president's authority. He is the elected officer. You are not. Okay. All right. To join or not to join, this is for coaches. When I did coaches training, which was really minimal, one of the things they said was don't join the club. Don't join the club. All right. Not never join the club, but make them earn your membership. And so what I said to the club was, if you can get to the point where you need just one more member to be distinguished on June 30th, I will be that member. But you have to earn it. All right, does somebody tell me how does a struggling club become distinguished? Besides the goals, what is the membership that they need?
20.
Not 20. 5 over the base. So if they had a base of 6, which is the club that I started with, how many members did they need in order to be distinguished? 11. It's 5 over the base, because if you have 6 and we expect you to get to 20, that's just gonna make you cry. So it's 5 over the base. So what I said was, you have 10 on June 30th, I'm your number 11. All right? So make them earn your membership. Okay? Don't just give it away for free. Make them work for it. That's what I was taught, so that's what I'm teaching you. And now we're going to talk about when you leave a club. So a club coach has 2 years. Is that right, David? Yep. They have 2 years to get the club they are coaching to be distinguished. So they have 2 years to get 5 plus the base. So here's the heartbreaking thing. Let's say I have a club with 6 members and I get them up to 9. Not distinguished. I don't get my award. I now am spending the next year, but now I'm starting at a base of 9. Now I have to get them up to 15. 14. Thank you. I'm not so good at math. All right.
Not a math major.
So now I have to get them up to 14. All right? But once I have them at 14 and they have their educational goals, they're distinguished, and I have earned my coaching credit. Yay! We turn that in to Toastmasters, or like paperwork or something, I don't remember. But you turn it in to Toastmasters, you get your club coaching credit, and you say, hey, congratulations on 14 members, bye! All right, so let me tell you, a club is eligible for a coach at 12 members. 14, yeah, you're over that amount, so now you're not going to get another coach, right? And you probably still need help. So this is completely up to you as a coach. What happens, you can walk out the door, you have your credit, but you can stay. No, people will tell you, no, you should leave. You're done. That's on them now. That is not what I did. I stayed because my feeling was, I'm already here, I already know these people, we have a system in place, we're working together well. I'm going to stay until when I walk out the door, they'll be sad to see me go because they like me, but they don't need me anymore. All right? And I'm really happy to tell you that that club is distinguished every year, distinguished or better. But when I walked out the door, they were at 20 plus, and they were doing well. And they were attracting new members, and they knew what to do with them, and they ironed out all the kinks. And I could walk out the door, and everything would be okay. And so that to me is success. It's not what Toastmasters puts on the paperwork, because you only get that club coaching credit one time for that club. But I encourage you to help build the club. If you like that club, please feel free to stay and help them build into a good club. All right. These are some resources that you can take a picture of if you want. There's links there for motivational interviewing and setting SMART goals and information about the club coaching program that TI has. They have some really good information there. So the nice gentleman just waved the 10-minute sign at me. So I'd like to take some questions. Any questions? I'm standing in front of this. Yes?
Can you put your email address back up there? So
It is on the yellow paper.
Oh, I see it.
Yep.
Whoops.
It was on the yellow paper. There we go. So is everybody done with this slide? And I will go back. There we go. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Yes.
Can you mentor more than one club at a time?
So mentoring is different from coaching. Mentoring is something we do with a brand new club. Can you coach more than one club at a time? You are very ambitious.
Just a question.
I would recommend that you coach a club successfully and get that experience underneath you. And then if you want to coach a club every single night of the week, I think that the district would be happy to have you do that. But do it once successfully before you make that commitment, because it is a commitment.
If you want to coach more than one club, become an area director.
There we go. Right.
What's your name? I'm gonna write it down.
Any other questions? Any questions from the people that are here wanting to coach their own clubs to success? When we discussed the different parts of the meeting and what you'd be looking for, was that helpful to you guys? All right, because you can do that. I highly recommend, by the way, there is a module called Moments of Truth. And I highly recommend that you have someone from outside your club come in and do the Moments of Truth module for you. It will take an entire club meeting to really do it, and that will help your members self-identify the issues that are happening at the club. So that is available freely on Toastmasters.org. Moments of Truth. I recommend it. Other questions? Okay. I'm going to ask if a couple of eager beavers, well, first off, I want you all to fill out the assessment forms there so that we can make this better. But then when we're done, if a couple of eager beavers would stay and help me put the tables back. I would really appreciate that. Otherwise, have a fantastic day.